Hi, and welcome back to the Path to Profit podcast. I'm Dr. Minette Riordan with my husband, Brad Dobson.
Hi, guys.
And we're super excited to be back with you this week. And I'm not coughing. I'm pretty excited about that. So through the last couple of weeks of podcast, I've been trying to cough or mute myself. It hasn't been fun. But it's the story of an entrepreneur's life, right? Is pushing through. And even when things are tough, which is kind of what our theme is about in some ways. It's about optimum performance. It's about mastery. And it's going to be a really cool conversation with an amazing woman named Tina Greenbaum. Tina, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Minette and Brad. I'm so happy to be here this morning.
So I had the good fortune to see Tina speak at the Women of Influence conference a couple of weeks ago now in San Francisco. And I was just really inspired by what she had to share. And so I invited her to come join us on the podcast. And we'll tell you more about her in just a minute. But as always, we're going to start with our quote.
Am I reading the quote?
You can read the quote.
Okay. This is by Carlos Castaneda. We either make ourselves miserable or we make ourselves strong. The amount of work is the same.
I like that.
I think it might actually be more work to be miserable, but
it feels like more work to be miserable for sure.
It is true though.
But again, it's part of the theme that we're going to be sharing and talking about with Tina today. And before we dive into that conversation, Brad's also going to share a little bit about this amazing lady and some of her experience.
All right, I got my old man glasses on. Tina Greenbaum is a licensed clinical social worker, an optimal performance specialist, and a dynamic workshop leader now living in the Bay Area of San Francisco. Throughout her extensive career of 33 years, she has been a pioneer in combining traditional psychotherapy with body awareness, energy psychology, neuroscience, and spirituality. She brings you the latest discoveries in neuroscience with the ancient traditions of the East, as well as the best of Western learning theory. She works with entrepreneurs and business professionals, teaching them performance skills necessary to manage their emotions in challenging and pressured situations. I love this. This is the crossover that I'm trying to live in.
Yes, quite a crossover.
This is cool stuff.
It is very cool stuff. And so our topic today is about 5 tips for mastery under pressure. So Tina, before we dive into the questions, would you just share a little bit about what you're up to currently in your business and what's exciting for you right now?
So it's very exciting. I have created this program. I call it Mastery Under Pressure. And I have created an online program, a 12-week program. It's been 12 years in a lot of the thought. And actually now it's launched and people are using it and having amazing results. So I'm really, really excited about it because it's the integration of so much of my work that you just described. And it's very systematic and logical and grounded and usable. So that's the most exciting thing. And I'm also doing a live workshop, January 21st and 22nd in the Bay Area, which is going to be very experiential and taking the things that we're going to be talking about today and seeing where each person kind of comes up on them, where they are and where they'd like to go.
Awesome. So if I remember from hearing you talk and from your bio, you're also a lifelong athlete, right?
Yes. Yes.
And so I'm curious how that's tennis in particular.
Yes. I actually have a better mental game than I have a physical game.
Hey, it counts for a lot.
It does account for a lot. It really, really, really does. So I've loved sports and athletics my whole life. But not only with me, but I have 3 sons. And 2 of them played soccer very competitively. One went on to try out for the national team.
Oh, wow.
Played in college as a freshman, rookie. So when the kids were playing when they were younger, I used to say, I don't know a lot about soccer, but I know a lot about psychology. And that got me really interested in sports psychology. And I started taking classes and certifications. And so, and sports psychology is really Eastern thought. So if we think about all the things that we're going to talk about, focus, relaxation, all these kinds of things, it's all very Buddhist, very Zen. And so my love of spirituality and experiential work and then combining the sports psychology was just sort of a natural mix for me.
Yeah, beautiful. I love that.
Like I said, this aligns a lot with where I'm coming from. I actually have maybe more athletic background than I do entrepreneurial background, and I'm like an amateur athlete. But I do endurance athletics, and so I've gone to some workshops for sports psychology stuff. A guy named Steve Smith that was based out of here and spent some time in the area. But yeah, it's amazing how much impact you can have on your performance just with mindset.
Yes. Yeah. So I like to say that if you have two athletes, two performers, two entrepreneurs that have the same skill, but one has mental training and the other one doesn't, this one's going to win.
Yeah.
They will. It's just an edge. And the interesting thing is that in all the things that we do, again, whether it's sports or whether it's whatever knowledge base you're working with, we work on the knowledge base, we work on the technique, we work on the tactical, we work on the strategic, but we don't teach the mental skills. We don't teach them in school, we don't teach them anywhere. So either we learn it by life, kind of smacking us enough times that we wake up, or we study it. And this is sort of kind of what I'm all about. It's kind of, let's bring this in.
And back up and when you say mental skills, just give us more information, maybe define that for our listeners.
Yes.
And then tell why this is so important and what you do with it.
Okay, so I have a curriculum. And so I teach focus, when we're in focus, when we're out of focus, when recognizing when you're distracted, and how to bring it back. Then I teach relaxation. So I guess the way that I'd like to put it is it's a mind and a body experience. Mm-hmm. So when I teach, start with the body and learning how to calm down the nervous system. Because once the nervous system is calm, then the body is settled, and then the mind is quiet. And when the mind is quiet, then it will pull on the skills that we've already learned, and they become much more automatic. So I'll go back. So focus, relaxation, which includes breathing, meditation, and mindfulness. And then then we go over to the mind. And then we start to talk about thoughts and managing our thoughts and changing our thoughts. And I call it changing thoughts to what I call productive thinking as opposed to positive thinking. I think positive thinking sometimes is very serendipitous. It's like la, 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 but do my thoughts produce something that is useful for me?
Right.
And then I talk about fear, big one.
Yeah.
Managing our fear. First of all, acknowledging the fear. So we can't change anything unless we know what it is. And then recognizing so now that I know what it is, now I have to clear it. And we've got a whole bunch of different ways that we work on that. And then now that I've cleared it, okay, so now what do I want to put into action? Mm-hmm. So again, these are very, very specific, logical things that we can use in any situation. And then the last one I do is creating powerful visualizations. Okay, so now that I've
been talking a lot about visualization lately and the power of visualization.
Okay. So now that I've cleared, the garbage behind me, okay, so now what do I want to put in place?
Yeah. And
then learning how to use visualizations, learning how to use your modalities, because that's the way the brain is going to pick it up. Whether auditory, physical, auditory, kinesthetic, visual, and then creating them and then practicing them so that so the brain already has it before we actually go out and do it. And so that when we go out and do it, oh, there it is. My brain has already done it.
Yeah, that's, I've had that advice given to me, and I've actually, maybe some of it I landed on just because of my character, or some of it I actually learned from somebody, but I think it's important, especially for athletes that are training a lot. And when I say athletes that are training a lot, in this context, I really mean entrepreneurs that are working a lot. Right. You got to bring it to the training and the event.
That's right.
And you're actually practicing the mental skills when you wake up in the morning, when you get out there for the training block, or maybe in your entrepreneurial ventures, you're going to a network?
It's actually easier to be an athlete than it is to be an entrepreneur, because of the athletics, we focus on one skill, or one thing. As an entrepreneur, we've got so many moving parts, and how to keep focusing and resetting, and then start again, and then focusing and then resetting and then starting again. And knowing when, I certainly know, and maybe you guys know too, when I feel on overwhelm and overload. See, I keep going like this, right? Because this is where the energy goes.
And so if you're listening to the podcast and not looking at Tina, she's waving her hand around her head like in chaos.
Exactly.
Over the top of her head.
Exactly. So that's why we start with the body. So when I recognize that my mind is really scattered, and this is exactly what I did this morning. Okay, I sit down, and I sort of ground myself. I do my meditation. I settle my breathing. Oh, okay. Now how do I want to plan my day? How do I want to prioritize? And because I can't do it from this spinny place.
Right.
Yeah.
Too many things going on.
And also, when you do that in the morning, or you're doing that on an ongoing basis, I think you're able to then also bring that up to bear when the real pressure's on, or there's a real stressful situation, because you can fall back on those abilities.
Okay, so I'll tell you a little story with this, okay, that I think will bring it all home. I just am coming out of a really, really, really terrible IRS audit.
Oh.
Thank you for the sympathy.
Hugs.
It was bad. It's bad. And so I had a bookkeeper that I trusted very much, and so on and so on and so on. But the bottom line is I'm responsible. So again, we come back, how do I make my thoughts produce something that is useful for me in a really, really bad situation?
Yeah.
Right.
So I recognize, number one, if I go down this path, because now I'm mindful. So I'm giving you sort of like the walkthrough. So I'm mindful of the way that my mind is working, right? Sure. And so if I focus on this very big amount of money that I have to pay back, then my mood starts to go down, and then I start to get spinny, and then I can't think straight, and then I'm dealing with fear, right? Okay, I recognize that. So now I'm mindful of that. I don't want to go down that path. That is not useful or productive for me, even though it's a fact. Yeah. Right? So we start with, again, what's the reality? When our expectations are over here and our reality is over here, we have nothing but disappointment and frustration. Okay, so how quickly can I really kind of acknowledge, okay, this is the deal. Okay, now here we're in the present. Now what am I going to do about it? Okay, so then I begin to problem solve. This is where my own creativity and all the other things come into place. What do I need to do? What's the game plan? What's the roadmap? How am I going to get there? Okay, so now I get that, and then I put it into action.
Sure.
Right? So it's just being able to break down these things over and over and over again, down to kind of like, what's really going on? What's the absolute truth? Okay, now that I know the truth, okay, so I'll give you another example. I was playing tennis yesterday I play on a league, and I'm not the captain, so I don't make the match, so I play double. And I'm playing down and up, so it was a mixed thing. I'm a 3-0 player. I'm not a fabulous player by any means, but a decent average player. But I'm playing on a 2-5-3-0 league. So the captain puts me with somebody who is a 2-5 player who's not a strong player at all. So I'm frustrated. I'm making my own mistakes, but she's not helping me at all. So I recognize the reality. That's the way it is. All right, now what? So because I have these skills, and I could see that she was getting really agitated and really frustrated, so I say to her, come on, what's going on? She says, I get so panicked in a match. I can play really well, but when I get, in practice, but when I get to the match, I said, okay, so what's going on? What's going on? Well, I just get panicked. I said, no. Let's just stop for a second. what are you doing? What's your mind doing? What's actually happening? Well, I'm thinking about, I should be over here, and then I should be over there, and okay, so now we have some material to work with. Now I know what she's thinking. Right? And it took her a whole bunch of time to kind of slow down. Let's just kind of find out what's going on.
This is the best tennis partner ever.
I am. Lost 6-0, 6-1, but that girl learned a lesson.
I'll bet.
That's so cool.
She got her head in the right place.
So,
I want you on my shoulder in my next Ironman, so you can.
I teach this course. Come and study with me, because I teach you all these.
As you're talking, I couldn't help but think about one of the things that our clients struggle with a lot, which is sales, right? And having that exact same level of panic.
Yes.
When it comes to being in a sales conversation.
Exactly.
And how, if they can notice, right, if they can start with the focus and the relaxation and the breathing and going from the scattered, spinny, fearful thoughts to the more mindful, productive thoughts.
Exactly.
Is everything. But I also really appreciated the visualization piece, because one of the things that I talk about with my clients is that, you have to visualize the outcome even before you have a conversation with someone, and that you actually have to be detached from the outcome.
That's right.
And that you can't, which is different than sports. In sports, you're very attached to the outcome. You're in it to win it.
Yes, and no, it's not different, Minette. It's
okay.
Exactly the same. Okay. I'm focused on winning.
Yeah.
But if I'm focused on the outcome, I'm not doing what I need to do in order to win.
Got it.
So the outcome is a result of doing all these other things.
Right.
So it's exactly the same.
In the moment, in each and every moment.
That's right.
And
I can't have my brain in two different places, because if my brain is over there worrying about, am I going to get this sale?
Yeah.
Then I have now eliminated the amount of time and the amount of focus that I have to actually, what do I need to do to get that sale?
Yeah.
That's where I have to put my attention.
Yeah.
And all my energy.
Yeah.
And so if I do this step, if I approach it in a certain way, and then I use my sales techniques, and I do this, and I have a good attitude, and somebody gets that I'm warm and that I care about what I'm doing, and blah, 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 it's likely my percentages go up, then I'm actually going to get the sale. But if I focus on, I need to get this sale. Okay, now I'm not doing what I need to do.
Right, and you lose connection with the prospect, which is the most important aspect of the whole conversation, is just staying.
So one of the things that I say is we only have 100% of our energy available at any one time. We don't have 101, okay? Same thing, 24 hours in a day. Okay, this is what we're given. So how much of my energy do I want to put into what's going to make me successful? Okay, and as soon as I bring that one down, that's right. As soon as I bring it over here to, I better make this sale, I've now lost about 50% of my energy.
So Tina, what skills do you teach when the emotions come on really strong? I've been there in certainly in Ironman, where my mood is just cratering, and I've got a long way to go, and I'm down on myself, and it's similar types of things with your tennis partner, or what Minette's saying with someone who's right there at the sale, and they start to freak out. What are the things they can do to bring themselves back from the edge? Okay,
so number one, we have to prepare. Okay, everything is about preparation. So a lot of this stuff, and you both of you said it in some way or another. Everything that I'm saying, it's like we already know this. We know that we're supposed to be relaxed. We know that we're supposed to be in the present. We know that blah, blah, blah. But it's not common practice. It's common knowledge, but not common practice.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I would suggest, you have to prepare. You have to, the stuff that I'm teaching, you gotta learn it some way or another. You got to invest the time, and you got to invest the money and study with somebody so that you actually have the skills right at your fingertips.
So I love that. It's common knowledge, but it's not common practice.
I didn't make that up, but it actually is absolutely the truth.
Yeah. You're right. We all know this stuff. We know we should be eating healthy, exercising more, preparing before our presentations, yada, 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 yada.
Yada, yada, yada.
And so what I hear you saying is that by working with a mentor, you can get from knowledge to more consistent practice. And so what's the specific difference with mental skills that a mentor makes rather than trying to do it on my own?
Well, I know the path, or, a mentor knows the path. I can listen to each one of you just as you could listen to me with my business, and you could say, okay, she's got holes over here. She needs this. This needs to be worked. I can do that. I can listen really carefully, and I know exactly where we need to plug up.
Yeah.
Right? So we're going to start with, again, do you have a practice? Do you have a practice that is beginning to train your nervous system when you're not in a match, when you're not under pressure? It's like investment. It's like putting money in the bank.
Yeah.
So my body, because I've been doing this for so long, my breath, when I get anxious, that breath kicks in. That really, really deep, low breath kicks in, and it starts to change my nervous system, because that's what we want to be able to do. When you're talking about, Brad, what your question is, I want to get my nervous system really calm. I want to get it into the parasympathetic nervous system as opposed to the sympathetic nervous system, which is the one that's on alert. Right, so, and again, now you're pushing through. That sympathetic nervous system is going to be going anyway. But how quickly can I get the mind quiet and my breathing slow down so that I can bring myself back to, okay, so now what's next? So number one is the body. And one of the things that I teach is that this mind-body connection is real.
Sure.
Yeah.
It's a relationship that, God, if everybody in the universe had this relationship and really knew how to access what I call below the neck, this is sort of the path to world peace in my mind.
Yeah. So I'd love for you to just talk a little bit more about that piece, because so one of the things that Brad and I were working on over the holiday weekend was our mission and what it is that we want to create and where we're going with what we're doing with the Path to Profit Academy, right? And so when you said that this mind-body connection is a path to world peace, I'm curious, what's your mission?
This is my mission, to teach as many people as I possibly can about this connection, so that we have access to our emotions and that we can move things that are in our highest and best interest. And if they're in our highest and best interest, they're going to be in your best interest. So if I'm coming from a place of love, really, it's a little overused, but really, really loving and caring for myself, which means caring for my mind and caring for my body. So I care about the thoughts that I have going on here, so that I do not initiate that fear response. Again, I can do a job on myself, going back to the IRS, I can do a real job on that. But I recognize that will only take me down to a path where I'm going to activate the stress response. Right. The stress response is what is responsible for illness. I had breast cancer. I had metastatic breast cancer. So I know what stress can do. So I'm very, very protective of this system. What I put into my body, how I eat, how I think, who I relate to. In yoga, they have the yamas and the niyamas, which are the paths of right living. And so what they say is, if you eat right food and keep right company and read right books, you elevate yourself to the highest level that you possibly can.
Yeah, it's like the Buddhist Eightfold Path.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Again, so when you ask me my mission, I not only from my own life experience, and I could go on and on and on, about how many, different things that have happened to me, and tragedies and challenges and so on. But I'm well. Yeah. And so these doctors asked me, oh my God, you had something that was really pretty life-threatening. How did you get well? And mind, body, spirit, and emotion. Right. Those are the 4 quadrants. And if we look at every single one of them, and if you go through that focus, all the things that I just described,
Yeah.
They fit into one of these categories.
Nice.
Mind, body, spirit, and emotion.
So Tina, I love the way you're approaching this. One of the things, as myself as a Buddhist, that I know is that these are lifelong practices.
That's right.
And so I guess I have to assume that part of your mentorship and part of your teaching is, or maybe I'm wrong, but I assume that part of it is teaching people how to integrate these things into a daily practice,
exactly
or even a minute by minute practice.
That's right.
So maybe you could describe. I'm kind of on a daily practice kick. I haven't got it in my life right now, and I'd love to hear what your version of that is.
Okay, so if we go back to your question, right, about, I'm in the middle of a race and I'm going down, I've got a long way to go, and so on. Okay, so I started answering the question, but we start with a practice. So something that is a breathing practice, a meditation practice, something that I keep going like this, okay, because it's getting that spinal kind of the energy going up and down the spine and getting the nervous system quiet. That's like the most primary thing of all. Okay, so now I've got that. I've been doing that. There's alternate nostril breathing that you can do that would begin to expand the body's capacity to hold more oxygen, which is to hold more energy. And if we can hold more energy, we can hold more of life's ambiguities.
Interesting.
That's really the way I see a spiritual path.
That's beautiful.
And so practically, it's a breath practice.
That's right.
Yeah.
Okay, so as I bring up the breath, all the way from my rib, my abdomen to the rib cage to the upper chest, which doesn't usually get much air.
Mm-hmm.
And I bring it up and I expand. Okay, so I'm opening up the I'm opening up the arteries, I'm opening up the muscles. I'm telling the body to relax. When the body relaxes, the mind relaxes. Okay, now I'm able to insert, again, we talk about we have to clear first. We have to clear a lot of the debris first. And then we can insert new ideas and creating new neuronal pathways. The reason I'm not crazy about affirmations, because if there's a part of my unconscious that doesn't buy into it, it's not going to work.
Yeah.
It's not going to work.
If they worked, we'd all be thin and rich, right?
That's right. My whole body mind has to be in agreement. So let's say, again, I'm going to go back to your example of being in your Ironman and you're falling down. And okay, so, all right. So first thing I have to do is where are my thoughts? Okay. I'm going down. I got a long way to go. Is that useful for me? No. Do I really want to finish this race? Yeah, I really want to finish it. Okay, so I can't worry about how many hours I have left.
Right.
Every time that thought enters my consciousness, I have to put it somewhere else. Okay, so where can I put it? So again, this is part of your visualization when you're not in the race. Prepare for that moment.
Sure.
Okay, so when I'm in that really, really down space, okay, what I want to do is I want to find my breath. I want to see, I want to see bright sunshine. I want to see my energy go like this. Practice that. NLP, you just kind of really, really expand. Like, what do I want to do when that hits me? And again, kind of working with somebody like me or something, we would install it.
So Tina, for people who are listening and don't know what NLP is, can you just briefly?
Yes, neuro-linguistic programming. And this was started by these two guys, I think Grinder and Bandler, who studied with Milton Erickson, who was a famous hypnotist. And they studied him, and they studied the way the mind worked, and they studied where your eyes go when you're retrieving information, and where your eyes go when you're kind of feeling down. And so if our heads are down and we're looking down at the ground, our energy is going to be down. So even if we want to change our energy, if we just look up, okay, now we have we're accessing different parts of the brain. And so there's just a whole bunch of ways that we have, access to being able to shift things, sometimes instantly. they say when you smile, you change your chemistry.
That's a big part of the sales process that I teach, is to remember to smile.
Exactly.
So I'm curious, you've given us a lot of strategy and some great tips, and I love the focus, the relaxation, mind, fear, and moving to action and visualization. I'd love to hear a couple of fun stories, or at least one fun story about some of the results that you've seen for the people that you work with when you take them through this process.
Okay. So first one comes to mind is a young woman who was working with me. She's French, and she had that kind of French arrogance, actually. And the arrogance was really not that she was really arrogant. She was just shy and didn't feel very good about herself. But it came off as that kind of know-it-all-y kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And she was a restaurant manager. Her father she was raised in a restaurant. She had a lot of restaurant skills, but she was always getting sort of into problems with the staff, the management. Not so much, she was really great with her staff, but when she get into authority kinds of things, she would sort of get testy and so on. And especially with the chef. Okay, if anybody knows anything about chefs and kitchen, they can be really, really nasty. So we started with okay, so let's start with what is. Again, I'm a psychotherapist, and many therapists have the reputation that we just go back into history and we kind of rehash this and that. I find it only useful in terms of how is it affecting you in the present. So we start in the present, and we start with skills. So what do you need to do in order to manage yourself in front of this chef? Well, I need to be able to recognize when I'm anxious, because he made her anxious. Okay, so now then we deal with, okay, so how do you deal with anxiety? Well, again, it's a mind-body thing. Calming down the nervous system. Recognizing that I'm anxious. Recognizing that I'm scared. Okay, what am I scared about? Naming it. Let's name it. I'm scared that I'm going to get fired. Okay, you're scared that you're going to get fired. If you focus on getting fired, where's your attention? Right? Okay, now we're back to 50% of your energy is worried about being fired.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's go back to what can you do? So easy for so many, we get into what we can't do, what we don't have. And we can get lost down that path. Well, I already know what I don't have. Okay, what do I have? What can I do? And then she just started to really work on these skills, every one of them that I'm talking about. And she moved from that restaurant to a 4-star, 5-star hotel, and now she just got this unbelievable job in Paris in a 5-star hotel as kind of a manager of many, 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 many people.
That's neat.
Yeah. That's a great story.
Yeah. Folks, mindset, stuff like this, your ability, this is a kind of Star Wars type of mindset.
Ninja tricks.
Yeah, ninja tricks. But, that type of emotional intelligence and ability to sit with tough situations, it's going to get you through so much in your entrepreneurial journey, in your life journey. Yeah. And it's going to get you there with a tremendously reduced amount of stress in your life.
Exactly. And so you back to that question you asked me, my mission. I mean, you just said it, to really bring this up into the consciousness that this stuff is really important.
Yeah.
And the best thing is that it actually works.
Yeah. Not only
it works if you work it. This stuff works.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And it's not like you're not saying things that the deep spiritual traditions have said for thousands of years.
Yeah.
You're bringing, multiple different concepts together, but gosh, people have been preaching this for a long time. So
absolutely. Absolutely.
So Tina, how can people find out more about you? I know you have a free gift to share with them as well. What would be the next step if people wanted to connect with you?
Okay, so I do have on my new website, which has a couple little tweaks still to be finished, but it's pretty cool.
It looks really pretty. I was on there this morning before the recording looking at it. It looks really nice.
Thank you. So it's www.tina, my name, Tina, Greenbaum, Green, like the color, B as in boy, AUM as in Mary, tinagreenbaum.com. And on there, I have 5 tips for focus, relaxation, dealing with negative self-talk, visualization, and fear. These are exercises that you can get started on right away and have, again, right at your fingertips. So go to my website. I think it's down on the home page. If you scroll down, and it says 5 tips, and you just put in your email, and it will be delivered to you.
Cool.
Awesome. I know you're on Facebook as well. We can find you at Tina Greenbaum on Facebook.
We'll have all that stuff in the show notes.
We'll put it all in the show notes. But so
I had another question too.
Yeah, it's just such a good reminder, right? I mean, that what you said about it's common knowledge but not common practice. It's like the Nerf bat.
Right.
It keeps hitting us over the head. And we've been having this discussion for a couple of months now about morning routines and getting more of these processes in place and how to bring more visualization into business as well as in our personal life. And so I personally just want to thank you for your passion and your mission.
Yeah, definitely. Totally what she said. Just one other question. I'm trying to integrate this into our interviews, and I keep leaving it until the end. Any good books that you're reading right now?
Yeah.
Especially in this space, but any, not fiction, but.
One of my favorite ones is called The Mindful Athlete.
Nice.
And this is by George Munson. And he was the kind of meditation teacher for Kobe Bryant and Michael Jordan, and he brings it all again through sport, but into his Buddhist teaching and meditation practice, and it's just filled with some wonderful little stories, and it's fun. It's a good read.
That one's on the list now.
On the list now. It's funny. I recently read, and I'm forgetting the name of it, but it was like leadership lessons from the New Zealand All Blacks. And it was great. Also, and I thought, I'm never going to like this. It's the analogy of sports. I don't love sports. I totally admire what Brad does as an individual, but team sports have never been my thing. And yet I found the whole concept of collaboration and a lot of these skills that you talk about and how they implemented that, the individual skills in order to help them be a better team was really, really cool. And that the visualization process then became collective.
Right. There's one thing I want to say about the visualization. Okay.
Yeah.
And again, in my online program and the way I teach it, you want to make sure that your whole body mind is in agreement with what it is that you're visualizing. Because if there's a part of you that, I don't really feel like doing this, or I don't really believe it can happen, or, even if you don't believe that it happened, but you're open to the possibility that it can happen. So there's a bit of checking with yourself. Right. I'm going to create this visualization, and then I'm going to try it on. How does it feel? Mm-hmm. If I could really, really create this, would I take it? Because a lot of times we say we want things, and then there's another part of us that's like, oh, wow, I don't know that if I really want that.
Right. Right.
So that's just a little tip with the visualizations when you're using them, and just ask yourself, try it on.
Yeah.
How does it feel? And it feels really good. All right, now let's install it and let's make it happen.
I love that.
The other last thing I want to do is I'd love to invite everybody to my workshop.
Yes, please do.
February 21st and 22nd. It's in the East Bay of San Francisco. And on my website is some more information and ways to sign up. And I do have a special, an early bird special. It's $97 for 2 days.
Wow.
Until January 1st.
Wow, that's a great deal.
It's a sweet deal.
It's a very sweet deal.
Awesome.
And you can bring another person.
Good
wow.
stuff.
For one payment of $97, you can basically buy one, get one.
Yeah.
Awesome. Super generous.
Yes.
Yeah. And to spend 2 days with you would be super, super fun. I think I'm speaking in Phoenix that same weekend, but otherwise I would love to be there. It sounds pretty amazing.
So we'll have another one.
Awesome, Tina. Thank you so much for your time,
Thanks,
for
Tina.
your insights, for your experience, and mostly for your passion. So
thanks for the invitation. This was fun.
Yeah, it was a great conversation, because to get on that path to profit and stay there requires those skills, right? Being an entrepreneur takes a lot of courage and a lot of commitment. Like you said, it also takes mastery of so many different types of skills, when really we're usually good at one or two of those and not at all of them. So I really appreciate the insights that you shared. And again, our deep sympathy on the IRS deal. Thank you for sharing that with us, and we hope it all gets resolved perfectly.
Yes,
Thanks, Tina.
All right, guys.
We're Brad and Minette with the Path to Profit podcast. You can learn more about us at pathtoprofitacademy.com. And we love to talk to you. And also, we would love reviews on iTunes. So if you love the podcast and you love what we're talking about, or you have ideas for guests to share, we encourage you to head on over to iTunes and leave us a super awesome 5-star review.
Nice.
Happy holidays, everybody.
Bye,
There
guys.
you go. Bye-bye, guys.